So I think we're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you everyone for coming on a eventful night in Fremont County. I know there's a football game I heard about going on about right now, so that I'm missing. But no, this is exciting. I'm glad you all were able to turn out. I'm Jason Kessler. I'm the founder and CEO at Pitch Engine and also County10. And we're doing the math today to get ready for this presentation. And we realized we had these debates, or a set of debates 2 years ago in Riverton, and we were just a little newbie of a media source. And if you can believe, in December we'll be 3 years old. And it's been kind of an amazing story for us. County10 now reaches 16,500 readers every single day. And it's kind of unheard of. It's a crazy thing in the media world, believe it or not. And I think we're super lucky to have this in Fremont County and in Lambert and Riverton and Dubois in our communities. So we're really excited, and we take that very seriously. We know that this is your thing. You know, we don't want to tell you what the news is. We want you to tell us what the news is, and we'll share it with you. And that's really kind of been our stance. And we really want to help, move things forward in our communities. And I think a debate is a great way to do that. We can leverage technology to reach all the people. There's going to be more people at home watching this debate than there is in this room, and that's cool. We like that. We're okay with that. And in the past, that hasn't been, been able to happen. So with County10, yeah, we're reaching 16,000 people now on a daily basis, and that's I guess last month we had 1.2 million monthly page views, and that's just crazy. It's 1 million. People read, 1 million stories are being read on a monthly basis. So we're 3 years into this. Started as sort of an experiment. I moved back to the community. I'm born and raised. I was born here in Lambert. I went to high school in Riverton. I played sports, so I went to Riverton. And I'm kidding. So 3 months ago we started Oil City, which is sort of the first, I guess, offshoot of County10. It's a County10 for Casper. And the thing is growing faster than County10 did, which is remarkable. We've got 4,000 daily readers on Oil City already. And our plan with our small team that I'll talk about in a second, our plan is to roll out 3 more locations throughout Wyoming by the end of this year. So we've got our work cut out for us, but we're never slowing down. We also have Pitch Engine, which is our sort of another part of our business, which is marketing software. So if you're curious what all that is, that's a little bit of a sort of a download for you. We'd like to thank our sponsors tonight. Our presenting sponsor is SageWest Health Care. They're doing great things to help us provide County10, provide a free media outlet to everybody. You know, you don't have to pay to click on stories and read our content on Facebook and share that stuff. We also like to thank our other sponsors tonight, which are Pit Stop Stores and also Lander Valley Family Practice. For helping us put this specific event on tonight. So we thank you for that. A couple just little housekeeping things. Restrooms are next door. So if you have to use the restroom, if you would, do us a favor and kind of find a break in the action to do that. Just because we're on Main Street, it's kind of loud. We want to keep the audio going in here. So if you find a break, zip next door. This is being live streamed, like we said. So there's going to be, we'll try to get a count throughout the night of how many people are at home watching this live stream. We'll have questions submitted via Twitter and also through our Facebook wall. So we'll have some people out of the community that'll submit probably at least one question to every candidate's debate. So with that, I'd like to introduce our first candidates tonight for the Riverton mayor race, Lars Baker and Rich Gard.
I served on the city council for Riverton for 7 years and really enjoyed almost every minute of that. There were a couple of times when I thought, maybe not. But during that time, I was on the finance committee, the planning commission, recycling committee, the airport board, board of appeals, and the alcohol crisis center. And during that time, the Alcohol Crisis Center transitioned to Volunteers of America, and it's now called the Center of Hope. And I continue to serve on the Center of Hope Advisory Board. I've enjoyed my work with the city, and I feel a need to serve the city that has blessed my family. During the time that I was on the council, I was still employed by Fremont County Weed and Pest, and I found I was torn sometimes between having to miss a city council activity of some kind because of my employment. And I always thought, once I retired, I'll be able to spend more time at this city job. When Ron Wartness announced that he was not going to run for re-election, that opened a vacancy for mayor. And this is, in my opinion, kind of like a job application. There's a vacancy for the city, and my resume is on file, and I'm applying for work. And that's how I'd like to do it. Probably out of that resume, the thing that's most important to my candidacy is that I have a master's degree in public administration from the University of Wyoming. I completed that degree during a time when I still was employed with the county, and I use that every day in my work. And so it's important to use as the city mayor to make government efficient, effective, and responsive. And I believe that with my education and skills gained from working in public service my entire life, that makes that appropriate.
Okay, Rich Gard.
Thank you, Jason. I've been a resident of Riverton, Wyoming for 55 years. I was born in Cheyenne and moved at a very young. It's kind of an interesting thought to come over here to Lander today for this debate. My grandfather owned the Lander Mill and the John Deere dealership here on Main Street in Lander. And as a young boy, I'd walk down through these buildings and nickel and dime him out of whatever I could get. Over those years, I've enjoyed Fremont County and Riverton, and at a very young age, I received an Eagle Scout badge. I graduated from Riverton High School, similar to you. I was married in '76, and I've been married to the same woman for 38 years. I did go away to college. The only really great thing I got in college was my wife. And I'm thrilled to have that arrangement, and that's worked really well for me. We have had 6 kids. All of them have gone through Riverton High School. We've lived in Riverton all those years. Very few of those 55 years was I not in the city limits. We have 14 grandchildren. I've been in business for 40 years in Riverton, and been able to sustain a living, employ many, many people, and enlarge the economy. I ran for city council and was elected to the city council in 2010. I've been the vice president and president of the city council. I've been on the rec board, the airport board, the appeals board, the airport task force board, the Chamber of Commerce. I've really enjoyed my time on city council, and I think that I look forward to that. Thank you.
Okay. And I'll explain a few of the rules tonight. We've got green light, yellow light, red light. You guys know what that means? Okay.
Red is stop.
Then you're qualified to run for mayor. So green light means keep going. Yellow light will mean 30 seconds, and then red we'll just start talking.
Sure.
And just a reminder for everyone in house, speak up a little bit. The mic is for the live stream, so everybody can hear us at home, and that sounds great. But just so people in here can hear, just be sure to speak up. So Mr. Gard won the coin toss, so Lars is going to go first. First question is for you. This past year has been very controversial in terms of racial tensions. How would you address this issue as mayor?
I think that you can do a lot with improved communication. I have thought, as I sat on city council, and we have discussed this a number of times, as a council, that we needed to improve our communication with other entities. And the problem is that there's not very many hours in any one day or week. And so it's difficult to set up a schedule where somebody from the city council goes and sits in on a county commission meeting once a month, or the Northern Arapaho Tribal Business Council meeting once a month, or that type of thing. And yet I believe that that is the way you make headway, is that as you become better acquainted with those individuals and they know you and you know them, that simply opens up opportunities and for communication that you might not get if you don't know people very well. And so I guess as mayor, my preference would be to be more heavily involved in that kind of intergovernmental relationship inside of Fremont County.
And Rich, the same question for you. If you'd like me to repeat it, I can.
Yeah, would you please?
Yeah, so this past year has been very controversial in terms of racial tensions. How would you address this issue as mayor?
You know, here in Fremont County, that's always been all our lives. We've had that problem, and that we need to work hard at that. It's not something that's going to go away. It's been a difficult thing for many, many years. And what we really need to do is rationally meet with each other and discuss what we can do and how we can help each other, not sabotage each other, not try to do things behind each other's backs. And there's lots of opportunities for that. And I think the forums for us to get out and to communicate one with another is essential to that. On the other side of that, we have to be welcoming. You know, we have to put our welcoming faces on and be glad to see each other, go out of our way to help and to participate in the activities that they're doing, and vice versa. And so, yeah, I think that's a tough issue. I don't know if we'll solve it being mayors, but yeah, it surely needs to be addressed. Thank you.
Okay, and the next question, we'll start with you, Rich. Should the budget need reduction, where would you recommend cutting from the budget? And conversely, what line items do you deem sacred?
You know, we haven't cut much in the budget, and so that's kind of a question of how long have you been beating your wife kind of deal. We don't do that, and so we need to pay attention there. There are some places that we could cut the budget, and I think from our last debate, the House and the Senate, both candidates pointed out how we are overspending and how Wyoming has more state employees than any other per capita, any other state in the nation. And so our race has been turned kind of big government against, I've been put on as trying to fire everybody and go back to no government. That's not where I want to go. I haven't done that in the 4 years that I've been on the council. And so I think the fiscal responsibility has to start with the city council. And what we pass, the city employees can't do much about that. They have to enact that. So I think that there's lots of places that we can look at. Riverton budget is pretty slim. When you take a look at that's budget of over 200 million, and we're at 22 million. So just the fact of our revenue governs us better than most anything. So I think that's a good concern, but I don't see any place where we're going to axe off a lot of spending. Thank you.
And Lars, the same question for you.
Yeah, I think Rich has got that figured out. We have very little room in the city budget. I believe we're tight as far as staff is concerned. There are always places where you can make improvements. There's always a place where you can find a dime or a dollar. And so there are things that you can do, but the budgeting process for the city of Riverton is really one of priorities. And the job of the city council is to set those priorities and to make those determinations. And when we talk about priorities, that changes, that shifts, because public opinion shifts on the things that are important to the things that we need to do. And then sometimes we wind up impacted by the actions of others. And a good example of that is Fremont County Solid Waste deciding that they want to be closed on Mondays and Sundays, which means that the city of Riverton can no longer pick up trash on Monday and deliver and take it to the dump. And so what happens to us is that we have to compress that into 4 days. We're stuck with that. And so a lot of times, communities winds up in a situation where we have to deal with issues that somebody else planned out. And so I can see a place where the city could cut their budget. Okay, we could say we're going to do away with trash. Okay, it would have and just make it a private enterprise, and we could have Wyoming Waste Management contract with individuals to pick up trash, just like happens in Lambert. But because the city of Riverton operates that trash collection as a proprietary enterprise, in other words, the people who pay fees for the trash collection are the ones that pay for trash collection. It doesn't come out of the city general fund budget, then it would have no impact at all on the general fund budget for the city of Riverton.
Okay, and this is where we're going to go to Twitter and Facebook, hopefully, for questions. So if you have questions, if you're watching at home, even if you're in the audience and you've got your smartphone, tweet us a question to County10 or post on the Facebook page. We'll start again with you, Lars. In your opinion, is the city doing all it can to address the public intoxication problem?
I think the city is working really hard at that. Whether or not there are other things that could be done, that's a possibility. But Chief Broadhead has been very aggressive in that regard. They put together quite a committee that's designed to deal with public intoxication and the issues that surround that. I think that brought in people from a wide variety of disciplines, and we've tried to focus on some of the things that were problematic. Right now, the Center for Hope, in the last year since Volunteers of America took over that Alcohol Crisis Center program in Riverton, they have placed 33 people into a treatment program. I think that's more people than the Alcohol Crisis Center got into a treatment program in their history of some 30 years. And so it's dramatic to see the difference in the way that particular program operates. And so can we put, maybe we put a few more dollars into that program. Whatever we do, we have to think about that as what is going to happen to us down the street. It has to be alcohol issues in Riverton have to be fairly high on the priority, and everything that we do has to keep that in mind. So, what are we doing? How does that affect the alcohol situation in Riverton? On the other hand, my wife and I walk all over town, and occasionally we bump into someone that we think might be a little edgy. And yet, those people turn out to be mostly very pleasant and say hello to us and pass on by. And so, maybe we emphasize that so heavily and our expectations are so high with regards to that we've made more of an issue out of it than exists.
Okay. Rich, the same question for you. Is the city doing all it can to address the public intoxication problem?
The answer to that is no. There's more that we can do. We have done a wonderful job with it so far. I do appreciate the water that was delivered. Thank you very much. When I first got on the council, this was a #1 issue for me, and it still is to this day, and it's getting better. It has, and we have statistics to show that. Lars and I sat right next to each other in the first meeting that the chief of police had, and we brought a whole group of people together. And Lars and I had been debating for a long time. I believe we brought that issue to Riverton. The previous administration supported that and brought that issue to Riverton. And Lars told me, no, that's not the case. This is a real problem. What we have really done is we've taken that issue and we've turned it into the fact that everybody is an alcoholic. That isn't the truth. The truth is that many people choose to be intoxicated. And that's a personal choice. And that's what America's all about. And there has to be consequences to that. And so my quick answer to that is we have to go back to make it uncomfortable to be drunk in Riverton, Wyoming. The crisis center brought in just a bed and breakfast, and it was a place that you could come to. I have a number of businesses right down in that section of town, and we had to put an automatic lock on the doors because the women that were behind the reception desk were uncomfortable. in the MI building. And so with that said, we made that a priority on the council from day one when I've got on it. And it's getting better. The Lander chief of police came to that first meeting, and he was the one that got up and said, hey, I'm really here to thank the Riverton City for bringing the detox center to Riverton, because now we don't have the problem in Lander. And so I think that's a real good point. And we need to stay on target there and continue to improve that. And we can do that. Thank you.
All right, gentlemen, that's all the questions we have for you tonight. So appreciate you coming, joining us tonight. Oh, closing statements. Oh, interesting. Okay. Sorry.
Okay, we're gonna run us off, huh?
That's all the questions I had, right? Oh, okay. So I was correct. Yeah. So, you want to? Is that based on phone costs then? Who goes first?
1 minute.
Rich, you won the coin toss. So.
Thank you. Is a 1 minute closing statement?
Yep, 1 minute.
I'm thankful to be here tonight. I hope we spoke loud enough that you can hear us on the back row. I'm looking forward for the opportunity of being mayor of Riverton. There's lots of things that we need to do. The very most important thing that we need to do is quit listening to the experts and start listening to the citizens of Riverton. We didn't get the cars moved, the abandoned cars moved off the streets until a citizen brought me a list of 21 cars that she said were unlicensed. The chief was a little bit skeptical of that, but when he went and checked, all 21 of them were. And so when we get help like that from the citizens, we can make a difference and we can change our city. And if we don't concentrate just on who thinks that they're the expert in the room and concentrate on the work that needs to be done, we'll be able to accomplish almost anything in Riverton. Thank you.
I think what's important in any community is that the government has a relationship with its citizens such that they feel like their concerns can be heard and answered. The city of Riverton goes a long way in that, in the fact that the first item on the agenda after the Pledge of Allegiance is to give citizens an opportunity to speak and to bring their issues to the floor. Something that I have advocated for quite some time and now see as a new addition to the agenda is an opportunity for the city council or staff to actually respond to those concerns right at the time. The purpose of this isn't to create an argument. The purpose of this is to immediately address the issues. And that shows individuals that we actually care about their concerns and can immediately address those issues where we can. When that's not possible, then we need to at least say to the individual, we've got you covered and we'll get back to you. Thank you.
All right, that's really the end of this.
That's really the end of it. Thank you. Okay.
Next up, we'll have the candidates for Lander Mayor, Del McOmie and Dan Hahn. Yeah. All right, gentlemen, we'll start with some 2-minute intros. Mr. Hahn, if you want to go first.
Okay, well, my name is Dan Hahn, and I have lived in Lander for 37 years, and I actually got married 37 years ago. So anyway, my wife Janelle, and I have a son, Josh. He's a master mechanic for Whitehot, and Melissa's in banking. That's our daughter. 1978, the family bought a business here in Fremont County, and in 30 years we ended up with about 3 businesses, and they were ready-mix concrete companies. And so we spent, we had some good times and then hit the bad times with the business we had, and we had some good times in the early 80s, and then the mines went down, and we lived through that. So we definitely got some experience with the evolution that we've had in Fremont County in the last 30 years. So anyway, that's all I have to say.
Mr. McComb.
Well, thank you for the opportunity to address the citizens of Lander. I was asked to run by many citizens of Lander, and the following are some of the reasons I decided to serve my community. I have lived in Lander all of my life, and together with my wife Patty, owned and operated 2 very successful businesses in Lander for 18 years, which we sold in the late 1990s. I have always been a fiscal conservative, believe Lander is experiencing a considerable financial crisis. I believe strong leadership is required to deal with the issues facing Lander, and have had to deal with these issues before. Many of you will recall the busts in our economy when U.S. Steel closed the Atlantic City iron ore mine in the 1980s, and again when oil, gas, and coal prices were at historic lows in the 1990s. As mayor, I dealt with the former, and as a representative in the Wyoming State Legislature, I helped to deal with the latter. I believe you have to be able to work with all sides of an issue, build a consensus among them, and move forward to solve the problem. I have shown that I have that ability and would like to use this ability to move Lander forward into the future. I'm a person who gets things done by encouraging teamwork among the people with whom I am working. Together we can define issues, build a consensus among those dealing with these issues, and together we can achieve the most equitable solutions for the citizens of Lander and Fremont County. The role of government is to serve the people, not rule them. We must be proactive, not reactive. Areas I plan to focus on are working to solve the financial crisis facing Lander, dealing with the infrastructure problems within Lander and the outlying areas, water, sewer, and streets being the most immediate, improving communications between city departments and encouraging employees to be looking for more efficient ways to complete tasks and utilize city equipment and resources, using my knowledge of state government and how it functions to bring more of the dollars flowing back to local governments who have to provide services and needs to the citizens of Wyoming.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen. Dan, the first question will be for you. With the bills and debt incurred recently with the community center construction and the water and sewer upgrades, do you think the city is taking on too much?
I think the city is definitely taking on too much. We have the sewer lagoons. It's going to be around $6 million. We've got almost $6 million in the community center. But that's not the only problem we have. You know, we've been buying, but one of the big problems we're going to have, and this is going to take place in the next 5-6 years, and that is we're going to lose approximately half of our veteran employees, and they're the ones that save you money. Along with that is we're going to have somewhere, we're not sure, we're over 3 right now, 330,000, but we have some very large benefit accruements that are going to have to be paid out. So we've got we've got all the debt that we're buying, but then we're going to lose our veteran employees, and we're going to have all these payments to pay out. So we have got to slow down. We have to really, really think about what we're doing. I mean, I understand what Dell's saying, but you know, it's not easy. We're spending everything we make right now, and anyway, that's where we're at. It's not pretty.
Okay. Dell, the same question for you. With the bills and debt incurred recently with the community center construction and the water and sewer upgrades, do you think the city is taking on too much?
Well, that's the past. The city has already made these decisions. They've done this. One of the reasons I'm running is to try and deal with the consequence. And that is going to be a very difficult thing to do because we have this indebtedness that Dan has referenced. There's bonds out there that are coming due. There are all types of different things. So you're going to have to become much more efficient with your city government. They've already cut a lot of positions. They've riffed a lot of positions to balance the budget where it is now and deal with some of the fiscal things that have happened. Some of these weren't planned. I mean, these things happen. But the fact of the matter is, then you now have to deal with it. Questions have arisen about, well, did we spend too much? Could have the community center been smaller, whatever. But my attitude about that is, it's done, and now we have to deal with how we're going to handle the situation. And I would like to look forward to the challenge.
All right, well, that segues nicely into our next question. And Del, we'll start with you this time. As the belt continues to tighten, as we look at these issues facing Lander, what would be your plan for addressing a balanced budget?
Well, most of the revenue that comes to the city of Lander is by formula through the cities and counties' distributions through the state government. And that state government, the way the money is doled out is based upon different formulas, but basically population, things like that. Severance taxes, mineral royalties, sales tax. Sales tax is the only thing that they've got is inflation, that deals with inflation. In 2000 legislature, they capped mineral royalties distributions to $200 million and severance taxes at $155 million. And since that time, they've never raised that cap. And that's money that flows through the cities, counties, WIDOT, water development, all whole list, colleges, university, and they never raised, the legislature's never raised that cap to deal with inflation. And that money has been used and is being used to build up the permanent mineral trust fund, the rainy day account, and some of this. And my contention is I intend to try and go down and visit with our legislators and convince people that that cap needs to be raised so it can help the local communities deal with this issue of inflation that's taken place since the 2000s. That's one of the ways you do it. The other, how do you do it like it's been happening? You have to be careful how you spend your money, but you also have to provide services to the people because in the Constitution of the state of Wyoming, that's what we're charged with.
All right, Mr. Hahn, same question for you. As the belt continues to tighten here in Lander, what would be your plan for addressing a balanced budget?
Well, the revenue streams have been going up and down. That's a tough one because you really, you're along for the ride, with that. But one of the things that we've done that's going to help things is we increased our water and sewer, and it hadn't been done for a long time, and that's going to really help us out. But we can't cut any more positions. We've already cut everything. We've cut everything out of our budget that we can. And when the revenue streams don't come in like they should, and one department is being taxed more, we're cutting out of other departments. So I think the biggest thing we have to look at is, and also what we've done is since we are making money and leveraging, we're borrowing from that. Originally we were gonna take out of our reserves, and our reserves, we don't even have a year's worth of running on our reserves. So they decided to go with borrowing from our water department. So anyway, I think that what we really need to do is stop the spending and quit leveraging against the monies that we have. We're just going to have to do that because we can't cut anymore.
Okay. All right. And for our last question, both of you have been involved in the business community here locally. Over the last year, there's been a lot of talk about economic development here. What do you think? We'll start with you, Dan.
Okay.
What do you think the city's role should be in economic development?
Well, I mean, obviously we should be a part of the situation, but what I'd really like to see, I'd like to see the growth that we have now. I like it slow. I'm not a big business type of person. Lander is perfect with the small to medium businesses, and I think we're doing really well. The one thing I think we need to watch is making sure that if we bring somebody in, that we're not disrupting the businesses that we have here already. And I think the Lander is, to tell you the truth, I think looking at Main Street, the businesses, the people are picking their niches and things are I think they're doing really well. You know, and we are you know, inviting people into the town. You know, we are helping people that want to come in. So I think things are doing real well, to tell you the truth.
Okay. Tell, same question for you. What do you think the role should be?
Well, there's several things that should be involved. Number one, you've got LEADA, which is a group of young business people and young people in Lander that have branched off of LEADA that are working. The city needs to work with LEADA. Their focus is more retail, and the LEADA Corporation, of course, is still there with some money that they can help leverage dollars for other people to come in. I agree with Dan. We don't want to bring somebody in that's going to close doors, somebody else's doors, because you haven't gained anything. But we have another situation. We do not have the redundancy that we need for our internet and all of the other things that we have. And that should be a priority, and the city can actually work very hard in working with Fremont County, Riverton, and the other entities to get that done. Right now, I think we have some through microwave towers redundancy, but those microwave towers go down, there is no redundancy, and we need to continue to work towards getting that done. So those are areas. We have lots of businesses. One thing that's made Lander good is we have a lot of people coming here. They operate their businesses, and their businesses are all over the world, but they have to use these types of procedures, so to speak. So I think that's one of the things that we can concentrate on. We also have to have the infrastructure then to deal with this, and that's the city started to move that way, and I think it's something we have to continue to do.
Okay. All right. So we're moving on to it's your turn, Del. So
Okay.
we'll let you have a minute to address the audience.
Well, again, I'd like to thank everybody for being here. I'm surprised at the turnout with the Broncos and the Lander River and everything else. It's some of us were lamenting. Sometimes we come to these things and there's nobody there but the candidates. But anyway, I just would like to ask the citizens of Lander to support me in my venture. I can bring stability to the Lander city government and to move along with these things. I just really feel that Lander's a wonderful place to live. We have people that tell us that all the time. And that's great. But we also have to take care of our infrastructure. We have to provide services for our people. Right now, we're at a bare bones minimum with that. So that's why I said in my opening remarks, we have to become more efficient. And one of the ways we can become more efficient is to allow our employees to do the work to tell us how we can become more efficient, how we can better utilize our equipment. Maybe instead of doing the job like we've done it for 20 years, there's a better way to do it. And so those are the kind of things, that's what I want to bring here. Be proactive, not reactive to what's happened. And that's what I see that where all has gotten to these days.
All right, thanks, Del, and we'll finish off with Dan Hahn.
Well, I also thank you to everybody, and a few thoughts I have is common sense, small corrections, and an occasional no with a little bit of pre-planning. I think Lander will go a long ways, and I thank you very much.
Thanks, gentlemen. Thank you. we'll have our candidates for Dubois mayor. That's Twila Blakeman and Grant Miller. Whichever side you would like. You get to pick.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Grant.
Let's let this over just a bit. All right, so we'll start out with your opening statements, and let's see, Twila, if you'd like to go first.
No, I go second.
Okay, you can go second for your opening statement. Go ahead, and you'll also go first for the first question. So.
Fine. Thank you very much. Good evening. My name is Grant Miller, and as indicated, I am running for Mayor of Dubois. First, I'd like to thank the sponsors of this event. I'm sure that this is going to be a very educational and informative experience. As to who and what I am, I've lived in Dubois a little bit more than 14 years, and I retired there following a 30-something year career in the marketing division of Union Oil. As supervisor of special projects, I was responsible for the development and implementation of research and strategic planning programs designed to understand consumer attitudes and preferences. Other responsibilities included the implementation and development of programs designed to increase customer loyalty and brand awareness. I will be bringing a unique set of skills to this position in that I know what it takes to achieve success. I have said this before in other places and other times, that a town either shrivels and dies or lives to provide a decent place to live and conduct business. It all depends on the economy. As mayor, I will make use of outside opportunities as they are made available. My goal is to make Dubois a destination, a place to raise families and conduct business rather than just be a white spot in the road. These opportunities will be presented to our citizens, and they will have the opportunity to either accept or reject them as it meets their needs or preferences. In the last few weeks or so, a lot has been started to improve the town's infrastructure. I will continue this trend and find ways to reduce expenses as I find them, particularly utility expenses, and thus reduce the cost of living, especially to those who can least afford it. In conclusion, I want to be mayor, and I am proud of Dubois. I'm proud of the people who live there. There's a lot of diversity and a lot of talent, and their participation will be much appreciated.
Okay, thank you. And just a reminder, when the yellow light goes off, we'll have 30 seconds, and when the red, we'll have to stop. So for your opening statement, Twila, if you'd like to address the audience.
I came to Dubois nearly 50 years ago with my husband and 5 small children. I've experienced all phases of life in Dubois. As a young mother, a business owner for 30 years, and now senior citizen. My children all graduated from Dubois High School. I served 7 years on the town council before becoming mayor 4 years ago. The following projects have been completed during that 4 years. We have an 875-gallon underground concrete water tank. Bedecker Road, the road to the dump, has been widened and stabilized. Energy upgrades to both the town hall and the headwaters are saving the town $6,000 a year, even though the cost of electricity has risen. Both town water wells have been upgraded. New water and sewer lines have been installed to service the old sawmill site, plus major upgrades to the established water and sewer systems. A new lift station replaced the inadequate 35-year-old lift station that was in danger of polluting the river. The sawmill site has been cleaned up and is now nearly ready for development. Cell 2 of the wastewater treatment plant was repaired. The cost of these projects was $5 million. $4.3 million of that was grant money. Also, during my term, the assisted living center was built, bringing 15 new jobs to Dubois. The old drip line for the trees along the highway has been replaced, saving water and staff time. The electrical system and the landscaping in Town Park have been upgraded. I have a great staff. We work very well together, and we have many plans for the future.
All right, thank you, Twila. All right, for our first question, this one will go to you, Mr. Miller. Considering Dubois's limited revenue streams, where would your priorities lie if you were elected mayor?
The answer is we need to work more on infrastructure to make Dubois a more inviting place to live. And therefore, I would like to concentrate on the essentials, that is roads, water, sewage, and things like that. There are other opportunities available, and I would, as we can afford them, I would like to take advantage of these as well.
Okay, and the same question for you, Twila. Considering Dubois's limited revenue streams, where would your priorities lie next year?
Our priorities, of course, lie with our infrastructure, with our water and sewer. That's the most important thing. In the last 2 summers, I've gotten over $1 million in grants to work on those infrastructures. Of course, our roads are important, but it costs a lot to pave. The cost to pave just 1 block this summer was $187,370, because it doesn't do any good to put pavement down if you don't put curb and gutter and drain and storm drain in, and it's extremely costly. And we don't have much money to do that. On the optional 1% sales tax and the gas tax that was passed, we're putting all that toward our streets. And last year, it only raised a total of $201,590. That doesn't go very far. But we are trying the best we can. We are working with consensus money and with SLID money to make our dollars go as far as they'll go. And we're also working on upgrading our airport. And we got over $7 million from the FAA to do that. So yes, our infrastructure is the most important thing.
Okay. The next question will actually start with you, Twila. Dubois used to be a timber town. What opportunities do you see for expanded economic development these days?
We're very limited because of our isolation and the fact that we're 200 miles from a railroad. We're 200 miles from an interstate. We have the only thing we have to work with are the dead trees. I've been working very hard with the Forest Service, trying to get them to give us commitment. We can't have anybody, our sawmills are all antiquated to where they can't really do much as far as economic development goes. The Forest Service is finishing up its revised plan, and I finally got the Forest Service to commit to 300 acres, which would be about 6,000 tons a year of biomass. I'm going to see if we can't do something to get somebody in to work with that. But until their plan is all agreed upon, which they don't know when that's going to be, we can't count on that. We would like to have, we have an excellent internet system that's as good as any we have a woman that works in Dubois who does her work. She's from New York City. She does her work when she comes to Dubois. And she says the internet in Dubois is every bit as good as she gets in New York City. So getting people to come to do their work with the internet is another way that we'll try to develop economic development.
Okay. Same question for you, Grant. Dubois used to be a timber town. What opportunities do you see for expanded economic development?
That's a good question. And I would like to market the community to extend the tourist visitor season in both the spring and the fall. Dubois is a very historical town. And as such, we have not only the natural beauty of the surrounding hills that will attract visitors, but we also have historical elements. We have, for instance, we have the Tie-Hack Monument. We also have a very historical POW camp, which is, by the way, unique in that it has remained intact. We have forestry reserves and a diversity of timber. We have the road itself, which is a scenic byway. We have, in terms of history, we have elements of the Trapper era, and we have Union Pass Road. Now, I'd like to make comment about our road in and out of town. It is more scenic than the Beartooth Highway, which leads into Yellowstone from Montana. And it presents the broadest view of the Tetons going, and it is far more safer than the Beartooth Highway. There are other things. As we increase population, as we increase Dubois as a place to go and as a destination, it will bring in more businesses, and that's what we're looking for.
Okay. All right, and so we'll start with the next question and our last question before closing your closing statement. Grant, what do you consider, I'm sure you've been thinking about this, what's going to happen, what do you consider the biggest challenge in the next 4 years?
The biggest challenge, I think, will be to heal the division that exists in Dubois. We have a lot of talent in town, and right now they are all operating towards their own ends. We need to pull together, and this will be a healing process for the town. The town is a good place to raise a family with small children. And another challenge, I think, is to take advantage of our senior citizen population. They present, or they have, a wealth of experience that ought to be tapped, and their voices ought to be heard because they have a vested interest in Dubois as well.
Okay. Twila, the same question for you. What do you consider the biggest challenge in the next 4 years? Is it different? As the incumbent, you've seen some challenges, so.
I think I would agree with Grant that the biggest challenge is marketing our town. And to that effect, we have just gotten a grant from the Business Council to do that exactly, to promote educational tourism, to take advantage of all the things that we have to offer in the town. And as far as our senior citizens go, we enlist them all the time to help with different projects. They're wonderful, they're always ready to help, and we do take advantage of them. I don't see the division that Grant seems to see. I think we work together, I think we help each other, and I think we're a tightly knit little community. Sure, we get mad at each other, we're just like a family, but whenever anybody needs something, their worst enemy is standing right there to help them. That's just the way it's always been in Dubois since I've been there. And like I say, I've been there 50 years. So with this grant, we want to pull all the factions that we have to offer in Dubois. Our scenery, our history, our geology, our archaeology, and be able to mark this as educational tourism, which we feel is the coming thing. The baby boomers are now retiring. They're still very active. They still want to go places and learn things, and that's exactly what we're going to do with this grant.
All right. So we'll go ahead and move on to our closing statements. Twila, you get to start this one.
Okay.
Just we'll have a minute to address the audience.
All right. Well, as I say, we feel we have a lot to offer. National Geographic just called the area between Dubois and Cody the wild front porch of the Yellowstone. The archaeologists have found the high mountain villages that they were astounded by. They didn't realize that the Indians actually lived in the mountains. And now with the warming that's going on and the retreating snows, they're finding all of these fabulous villages up above 10,000 feet where people lived all summer long. And so it's a very exciting time for Dubois. And then our geology, we're in this unique valley where we have the Absarokas on one side that were formed by years and years there's 12 forests that have been buried by volcanic activity in the Absarokas, and there's lots of petrified wood and gemstones up there. And the wind rivers were formed by glaciers. So we have these two very different geological mountain ranges. And then we have our Badlands, which is something totally different. So I think it's ripe for having the tourism.
All right, thank you. A history lesson to boot for us, or geological lesson. Grant Miller, your chance to have a closing statement.
First of all, I agree with what Twila has said. Dubois is a fascinating place, and it's a real pleasure to live there. We have an opportunity, most recently. It's been around for a little while, but we have an opportunity to partner with the Job Corps out of Riverton for educating our youth. And they have been involved in energy development, in renewable, recently, in environmental management. This is a real opportunity because it'll teach our youngsters modern techniques, and they can use it in their future growth. But like I say, the town is a wonderful place, and y'all come down and visit us, will you?
All right, thank you. We're going to take a 10-minute intermission, and then we'll move on to All right, next up, we're going to have a debate with our candidates for county commissioners. This is District 1 and District 4. And we're just going to start and go down the line, and we'll start out with your opening statements. And looks like, Steff, you get to go first. So your opening statement.
All right. Thank you, County 10, and to the other sponsors of this event, and to those that are here and online. 2 years ago, you elected me to the County Commission for change, to bring balance, good decisions, and good community relations back to our local government. You were tired of squabbles over sheriff's gloves or the coroner's logos. You didn't want any more bunker roads and museum controversy. You wanted a well-run county government that spends its money wisely and stays focused on serving the public, not special interests. I hope you've seen the positive results. We've improved in these last 2 years. How have I worked to deliver this change? I've kept focused on core services like law enforcement, roads, and emergency services. I led the effort for adequate pay for our 911 dispatchers, worked to secure funding for our EMS program, and supported prioritizing our roads work. I've been fiscally conservative and sought greater transparency in our budgets. I opposed funding of the Riverton Justice Center because the public was never presented with a clear plan of how we would pay for it, nor how the $2.6 million cost would impact our reserve fund and future needs. I helped lead the effort to reform our dysfunctional museum system, and our new administration now delivers more open hours, public programming, professional collections management, and frankly, a friendlier face in the community. I've supported our Lander area needs. I've gone to bat for the community center, secured county funds for flood mitigation, and convened the local effort that secured funding for the Mortimer Lane pathway. These are just examples, and I'm not saying the job is done. There's lots of room for improvement. I have decades of private sector experience in administration and leadership. I look for workable solutions, and I really enjoy working with Fremont County people. I ask for your vote. Help me ensure that you get better service, more accountability, and your tax dollar is stretched further. Thanks.
Okay, Ray Price, your turn.
I'm Ray Price. Thank you, County 10, for inviting me. Thank you, Commissioner Whiteman, and thank you, Commissioner Kessler. I worked for Fremont County for 36 years, most of which was a department head. And I have a reputation of honesty, straightforwardness, and public service. And that's the thing that I really passionate about as a department head, planning department head, is service to the public. And I never thought I'd run for a public office, but I thought I'd like to have the chance of taking my experience of 36 years as an county employee and put that to use at the executive legislative level. I think we could do a better job with roads, infrastructure. I think the issues with the ambulance service need to be fixed. Other than that, I think that I have a solid background of doing good problem solving. I have my bachelor's degree is from Michigan State. I have a master's in geology and geography from Western Michigan University and a master's of public administration from University of Wyoming. Many people either know me through my job at the county. I retired at the end of June. I've also volunteered a lot of time at the college. I've been in about 12 theater productions over there. I also probably am the only bagpiper in the county that does public performances, and probably a lot of people know me through work with the Episcopal Church. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ray. And Keja Whiteman,
I'm Keja Whiteman. I'm a mother of 3 children, a wife. I have a master's degree in public administration, like several other candidates I've heard tonight, which is fantastic, a great degree program. I was elected initially at large in 2006, before the county went to districts. Currently, I'm serving as the vice chair. I think what I bring to county government is a unique perspective. I'm raising children in the county. I'm also a private consultant, so I'm in the business. I have been consulting privately in human resources, education, and policy development since 2004. I think I bring a style of communication that may be unique in that I'm fairly informal. I like to visit with people, and I think it's a good way to get things done. When I came on, I was initially shocked at how many lawsuits the county was involved in. And I've had the opportunity to sit down and intervene in some of those lawsuits, and we've been able to resolve them without going through the whole litigation process, which saves us money and I think is a better way of doing business. That's how I like to advocate getting things done in Fremont County, is through communicating and working with our local governments, our tribal governments, our employees, and our citizens. Things can't always be resolved through communication, but I think it's almost shameful that sometimes as a county government, we've gone on to litigation before communication efforts have started. I think I'm physically conservative. I think as a Democrat, that's not something you hear very often, but I challenge you to go in and look at the record of big spending in Fremont County, and you will see that the Democrat is often the no vote on big spending projects. Thank you.
Okay, and we already performed the coin flip, and it looks like Steff has the first question. What level of support do you feel is appropriate for the Riverton Regional Airport, given its economic impact on the county?
I think that the county needs to play a leadership role in helping to secure reliable, consistent air service to this airport. We don't want to get involved in the day-to-day maintenance and operation of that. Riverton is doing a great job, but it takes the whole county coming together in order to achieve recruiting a new carrier to the airport. I've been serving on the Air Service Task Force. We've been in negotiations with major carriers. We have a tentative agreement that looks like we'll bring jets to Riverton in the fall of 2015. We're going to have to use a revenue guarantee mechanism, which is a proven success in other communities like Cody. And we're going to have to partner with private businesses and create a new entity so that we can have a private and public partnership in order to develop this revenue guarantee that we put in the bank, and we assure this airlines that if they don't make the revenue their first couple years that they need to, that we will cover it. It's not a subsidy, but it's a guarantee. We have to bring back travelers and assure them that we have quality service and that it's consistent. And with the jet service, we'll be able to provide better planes. And I think the county needs to step up in a leadership role and actually help put some money on the table for this revenue guarantee. And the reason for this is because this is a vital lifeline for our economic development in our community. We're going to have a lot of new development with either the Moneta field or the uranium mines, and we need to lure those people to want to live here, and they want to have reliable commercial service. So I'm working to partner with all entities in this.
Okay, thank you. Ray, it's the same question for you. What level of support do you feel is appropriate for the Riverton Regional Airport and, given its impact to the county?
Well, I'm certainly happy to hear from Commissioner Kessler that what the county is doing, and I think that's a great idea. I know that the Riverton Airport really is a lifeline into Fremont County. I just hope that the fall of 2015 is not too late, because I know that in my experience, a lot of people they avoid the Riverton Airport like the plague. And, so they fly out of Jackson and Casper. So, yeah, I think it's vital that we have a good airport. And I think the county should step up to the plate and provide maybe some funds, some input. And I agree that Riverton does a good job with maintenance.
Okay. Keja, same question for you.
It's almost ironic that you asked this question, as I was in my other job today, and 3 of our presenters coming in from out of town were stuck in Denver and unable to participate in our event today. So I hate to be continuing the reliability issue, but until that's solved, we're not going to get anywhere. I echo Commissioner Kessler's ideas of partnership. It's vital. We have so many businesses in Fremont County that are having to recommend travel outside of the Riverton Airport. We're shuffling people to Denver, Jackson, Casper, Billings. That's not a good way to do business, but without the reliability factor, we're never going to be able to draw those people back in. I think if we can continue to work and play a leader in that effort to build stakeholders together to develop a revenue guarantee, I think that would be good. I am not really supportive of the county, as we have been providing money for operations and maintenance. It's ranged between about $50,000 to $100,000 a year that we've been supporting, and that I'm not supportive of. But in order to get reliable service, I recognize that I would be able to invest money in the air service part of the airport.
Okay. And Steff, you mentioned there's new providers which are connects. Is that a different entity then? So is that?
We have been talking to all kinds of new providers. This is in partnership with Wyoming Aeronautics.
Okay.
And also the reason it's not till the fall is because the airport itself is repaving its runway throughout the spring and summer. And so we're pretty limited in when this could effectively bring somebody in.
Good to know. Okay. Keja, we'll have another hot topic for the county commissioners. Given the statutory requirements of health and safety, coupled with federal reimbursement limitations, what level of support should the general fund provide to Fremont County Ambulance?
I've been able to be a part of this since the ambulance was sustainable when I came on in 2007. And so since then, revenues, they haven't gone down, but the expenditures have gone up incredibly. And that's because I feel like whether it was conscious or unconscious, we've pushed volunteers out of the system. I think that's not a good way to do business. We have people in Kinnear and Dubois and across the county who want to be a part of the ambulance system. And I think we need to reincorporate the volunteers. And when I say volunteers, sometimes that means paying a stipend. Sometimes it's truly a volunteer. Sometimes it's more of a part-time service. I don't recall ever making a choice to go to a full-blown paramedic system, which seems to be where the ambulance is headed. I support the idea of having an ambulance service or volunteer ambulance crew in every community that we can, but I don't think it's realistic or sustainable to look for paramedic round-the-clock service in every community in Fremont County. We've got a lot of outlying communities. It sounds good, and when you need an ambulance, you really need one. And I understand that, and I would feel that way if it was myself or a loved one, but financially, Fremont County cannot support that. I would explore looking at ideas of profit, or maybe some kind of voter-based tax district or special assessment on property tax. And if the voters of Fremont County want to continue to sustain the ambulance service at a paramedic level, I have no problem with that. But the way we're going right now, we're not sustainable, and we can't afford the service as it is now.
Okay, thank you, Keja. Same question for you, Ray. What level of support should the general fund provide?
I think the general fund aside, I think that we have to recontract with the Indian Health Service, because in the 7 years that we have had this contract with them, we've lost $2.3 million that we'll never get back. And between April 1st of 2013 and March 31st of this year, we've lost $800,000. We can't continue with our service in hemorrhaging like that. I do agree that there is a level of expertise that if people are going to volunteer, I'm not sure. I think it may be above and beyond the call of duty to ask them to become so highly qualified. I know I experienced that a little bit years ago. I was a national ski patroller for 7 years, and it just seemed like every year they ratcheted up what you had to be certified for and skilled for. And it's like, hey, I'm a volunteer, and I have a full-time job. So, but I think we should do anything we can. I think we should make training available to volunteers or paid people if they want it.
Okay. So if we blow a knee skiing or something, come see Ray. He will voluntarily help us out.
Well, I can drag you to the ambulance.
Steff, same question for you. I'm sure you're well familiar with it, but what level of support do you think we should provide?
Well, first of all, folks need to understand that after this year, the ambulance service is going to need anywhere from $1.7 to $2 million of a subsidy to even maintain the current level it's got now. So even if the county was to provide that support in 4 years, we're broke. Our reserve fund's gone, nothing else for the rest of the county in terms of reserve fund needs. So it is not sustainable. We have to make changes. I tend to approach this as we need all of the above approach. We need to address operational costs. For example, 20% of our 911 calls are unnecessary. We need to educate those parts of the county that need better protocols in order to assess whether somebody needs really an ambulance and all of the infrastructure and expertise that ties up versus simply a ride to the emergency room. And there are protocols that are working with the Lander Police Service that we could use in the rest of the county to address those abuses. And they're not abuses, but they could be improved. We have to find the right balance between EMTs and paramedics. We can't necessarily have a Cadillac program here. We're a rural community. We have to work with the state to make certification of EMTs much less onerous. We're one of the few states in the country where we don't have reciprocality with other states for their EMT certification, nor do we accept the National Registry of EMTs that have been certified. So it's very hard to get to be an EMT. We need to speed that up so that we can get more of our human resources utilized, volunteers or others. And yes, if we need to, we could actually look at a rural healthcare district, but the public has to vote that in, but it does provide the option for a mill levy. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. So during the debate, you see me looking down at my phone, just checking questions coming in from readers. So the next one is a question from a County10 reader. And we'll start with you, Steff, for this one. Are the expenses put into the Green Mountain Campground improvements justified? Is there enough use there? So that's a question from a reader.
Yes. First of all, the Green Mountain Campground is under the purview of the Fremont County Rec Board, which has its own mill levy that is assessed. And they have an annual budget that we approve. And they came to us about the campground and the upgrades. And I understand there has been a debate about whether there's been a lot of use, but I understand that it gets a lot of use for hunting, and that these upgrades are really going to not only serve that current high use, but future anticipated use. And it's a lot of Fremont County people. But I can also say that because of this expenditure, we required the rec board to cut back on their other operational grants. And we're holding them accountable for paying back that loan that we gave them over a shorter amount of time than they wanted, and that they can assume that they've got the rest of the operational money in their budget to spend as broadly as they did. Because they chose this large project through their own assessment process, and they're an independent board, we took their recommendation, but we're keeping them, I guess, fiscally within the bounds of their mill levy.
Ray, it's probably more of a question for the incumbent. I don't know if you have knowledge into this, but if you have some feedback for us, since it is a reader question.
Well, I'll save some time. I really don't know anything about it, so I'm not going to expound on it.
Obviously, a reader question for
it sounds like the county commissioners have it under control.
Keja, do you want to?
I guess I think it was an extreme expenditure for the amount of use it gets. In general, I support recreation opportunities. I've supported other big projects like the $100,000 water improvement at the Fremont County Youth Camp, and some other big projects in recreation. But I don't think that, especially facing the major projects that we're undertaking countywide, that this was weighed against some of the other big projects and concerns with employee benefits and really the whole big picture of the budget. But that's part of being on a board, is that sometimes the board makes the best decision and individually you may or may not agree.
Okay, and just to be fair, Ray, I'm going to give you a different question. In your opinion, when is it appropriate to use the reserve fund?
I think it's appropriate to use the reserve fund when you don't have any other choice.
Okay, great. Keep it simple. Okay, so we're going to move on to the closing statements, and Keja, you get to start.
Okay, thank you. I think I've made a significant improvement to the Fremont County government since 2007 when I took office. The reality is sometimes good government doesn't make headlines. And I think that if you look at the headlines in the last, especially the last 2 years, they have promoted stories about positive things that are happening in Fremont County. And that's a good thing. They're not always involving lawsuits anymore. I think I've played a major role in stabilizing county government, but I have business that's unfinished left to accomplish. And part of that is around the employees. And as you probably know, Fremont County operates without an HR department or a county administrator. And so there are a lot of details as far as personnel and benefits and dealing with county buildings and things that don't always make the headlines that I think are really critical to good county government. And that's the business that I have left to finish. And so I'd appreciate your vote for one more term for Fremont County Commissioner, District 1.
Thank you, Ray.
Thank you. Thank you for our moderator. Thank you, ladies. I've enjoyed being here. Thank you to the audience. It's like Del said, it's a busy night in Lander, and I'm glad that so many came out to hear this. And the online audience, I just encourage everybody to get out and vote on November 4th.
Thank you. And finally, Steff.
How often have you heard the campaign statement, "The best government is the one closest to the people"? It's common here in Wyoming, especially when folks are frustrated with the feds. But we can't assume just because we are local government that we're doing the best job. We need to challenge ourselves and look for ways to be more effective and serve you better. And we have some serious challenges ahead: emergency services, long-term capital needs, rising health insurance costs, and potentially losing our commercial air service. I assure you, I'm a hard worker. I don't just sit behind that county commission desk and issue decisions. I work behind the scenes, gathering information, corralling the right people in the room, and setting a plan in motion. I'm a doer, and I'm ready to tackle these challenges. And that's what you get if you elect me again. So let's keep this positive momentum going and help me prove that the best government really is the one closest to the people. Thanks.
All right, and I'd like to thank the candidates.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Ray. Good job. Second quarter, Riverton 22, Lander 0. And so we talked about the audience that we have here. We're in Lander this evening, and so we wanted to bring up a special guest in the house tonight. We have Miss Wyoming, Jessie Allen. So we thought we would grill Jessie with all the next candidate questions. No,
I'm a write-in, so.
Actually, how many out there got to see the Miss Merit pageant? Yes. Okay, we got to see Jessie. So I'm just curious, like, how was it? How was the experience? I mean, how would you sum it up?
Oh, well, it's a lot to sum up, but especially because I was there for 2 weeks in Atlantic City. We actually started our journey in Washington, D.C., where we spent a day traveling, just throughout the city. We went to the Department of Education, the Capitol, which brought back a lot of memories from working for Congressman Cynthia Lummis and giving tours of the Capitol. So that was a lot of fun. And we went to the White House. Then we went to Atlantic City, where we were there for 2 weeks. Pretty exhausting. There's a lot more that went into it than people may realize, but it was a blur and an amazing. It was quite an experience.
What would you say Wyoming's reputation is at a pageant like that, where you've got, you're from little old Lander, Wyoming, and you see Miss Texas and New York, and
right.
What's that like?
Well, it was definitely, it can be a little bit intimidating, but I think I handled it pretty well going into it. I knew that Wyoming might kind of be an underdog, and I brought something pretty special to the table. I think I surprised a lot of the girls with my outdoor lifestyle, telling people that I've grown up spending about half of my life living without electricity on my family's guest ranch was kind of a shocker for a lot of people. And so that was something that surprised them, to see me go from being an outdoors girl to Miss America. They were just pretty shocked, but I was happy to show them a bit about my life.
That's cool. And what's it like being back now, having,
It's been great. I pretty much went straight from Miss America back into the mountains to do a few more pack trips, and was the camp cook for our hunting camps. And so that's quite the change up, to go from Miss America to cooking breakfast at 3 a.m. with snow on the ground in the mountains.
Yeah. So part of your running and getting to, attend the Miss America pageant, the whole idea is to inspire the young people and young girls especially. What do you have to say to them, to this next generation that may be watching you? And
Well, and that's why I wanted to be Miss Wyoming, is so that I can get out around the state and to be a good role model and a mentor for these young people, and to just encourage them to explore opportunities, to get out of your comfort zone and challenge yourself a bit. Whether it is running for Miss Wyoming or working in the Capitol. I tell people to get out of your comfort zone and explore these new opportunities, and you never know what you might learn about yourself and where it may take you. So
awesome. Well, appreciate you stopping in and saying hi to us. Thank you. So next we'll have our candidates for House District 33, Jim Allen and Andrea Clifford. Thank you. All right, thanks for the impromptu pause for us. Okay. Looks like, Andrea, you won the coin toss, right? Mm-hmm. So, Jim, you'll be up first, and you can give your opening statement. You'll have 2 minutes to give that. So, go ahead.
I appreciate that. Thank you. It's pretty. I think the old man just got aced out by his kid, so that's a hard act to follow. I appreciate that. I really appreciate this opportunity to be here, and thank you all for coming. By way of introduction, I just want to give you a little bit about my background, because they say you can judge a person what they will do by what they've done in the past. So I think it's helpful if you know what that background is. But I come from a pioneer family. My great uncle served in the Wyoming legislature and cast the deciding vote for women's suffrage. So we helped Wyoming become the equality state. And we've been here ever since. My wife and I have raised our 3 daughters here, one of whom you just met. They're all college graduates. We're really proud of that. I went to school here, LVHS. I graduated from the University of Wyoming with a degree in range management in the College of Agriculture. My wife and I have spent the last 34 years living on a ranch on the Indian reservation here. We're businessmen, we're employers, we're irrigators, we're taxpayers. I also have legislative experience because I served in House District 33, or for House District 33 in the legislature, and served on the Corporations and Agriculture Committee. I helped draft the Wyoming Wolf Plan and the Grizzly Relocation Notification Bill, plus lots of others. I'm also, by way of leadership, I'm the past president of the Wyoming Outfitters Association, 2 terms, past president of the Wyoming Dude Ranchers Association, 4 terms. I served 9 years on the Fremont County Natural Resources Planning Committee and served 3 years as chairman, and 3 years on the Fremont County Lodging Tax Board, which is now called the Wind River Visitors Council. So I've got community experience and leadership. And then, like I said, you can judge a person by what, am I done? I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Thank you.
All right, you'll get some time in your closing statements.
They're all 3 on, so it's hard to tell.
Andrea,
All right. Good evening. I'm honored to be here tonight and share with you I am the best qualified candidate to serve as the next representative of House District 33. I'm a proud citizen of the United States of America. I'm a proud citizen of the state of Wyoming. I'm a proud citizen of the Fremont County. I'm a proud member of the Northern Arapaho tribe. I'm a proud mother. And if I knew my kid could be here, I'm very proud of my son who serves in the United States Marine Corps right now. I'm a proud wife, and I'm a proud woman. I received my master's degree in public administration from the University of Wyoming. I'm a 2010 graduate of Leadership Wyoming. I gained experience in the legislature while serving as an intern in 2005. I'm running to represent all my constituents in my district and pass legislation that nurtures it. I believe that the best decisions get made when open, honest discussion inform the outcomes. I will definitely work with my Republican colleagues. Should I get elected, I will always hold true and fight for the values that are the reason why I am running. A few of those are veterans issues, education, equality for all, a livable minimum wage, access to quality health care, and a government that works for the people. I will try to build alliances with legislators that share my views and pass legislation that best serve the people of Wyoming. I'm committed. If I'm elected, I will commit that I will listen to and represent every aspect of my district and the state of Wyoming. Thank you.
thank you. Okay, Jim, the first question's for you. Aside from the boundary issue, what is the biggest issue facing the Wind River Indian Reservation at the state level?
The jurisdictional challenges that we face in this community, and when I say community, it's all of us, all the jurisdictions, are immense. And government is limited constitutionally and statutorily. The jurisdictions are outlined. So the state does not have jurisdiction in some of the tribal affairs. The federal government does, and vice versa. So it is very tricky to navigate those jurisdictional roads or trails. So having said that, it needs to be resolved. It's in this issue is in the hands of the courts right now. We really can't do anything until the ruling comes down. And then what we need to do is sit down and talk with all the entities involved. And I'm not really answering your question exactly.
Yeah, so aside from the boundary issue, we kind of just put that aside.
Oh, okay.
Obviously that was
I'm
a
sorry.
big sort of
Yeah.
contested debate over the last
Okay.
year.
Yeah.
What would you say the biggest issue?
Well, the issues always are equality of opportunity and a diverse economy. Everybody wants to increase their standard of living. And so that's something the state can help with, because the state does have statutory requirements to provide services to all the residents on and off the reservation. But again, we're limited, as the state is, by those jurisdictions. So we can only go so far. There are ways to get around that through MOUs and compacts and those kinds of things, where neither side seeks jurisdiction, but they enter into a very limited and enumerated MOU, compact, whatever. And my time's out, so.
All right. Well, same question for you, Andrea. Excluding the boundary issue, that's probably a better way to term that. What is the biggest issue you think facing the Wind River Indian Reservation at that state level?
At that state level would be Medicaid expansion and access to quality health care. You know, from personal experience, you know, in dealing with family members in the reservation is access to good quality health care and taking care of health care needs. There are a lot of jurisdictional issues with state, federal, and the tribal governments. Indian Health Service, it is underfunded, and it is not our fault. We come out of the area of the Bureau of Indian Affairs out of Montana, and Montana has a lot more tribes than Wyoming, and we are underfunded because we come out of that group of money to serve the Indian Health services here. So we need to collaborate and create consensus and really look at the critical issues of healthcare and how to access that.
Okay, great. Okay, let's see. I'm just checking to make sure we're not getting a reader one at the same time. I will start with the next one, and Andrea, you get to start with this one. Both the Eastern Shoshone and Northern Arapaho tribes have liaisons to state government. What do you think the role and duties should be of the tribal liaison, and should the state continue to fund these positions?
The state should continue to fund those positions. They are very critical positions for the state and for our tribes, both tribes. The liaison, I mean, the definition of liaison is to work together, to communicate, to gather information, and to streamline those differences, or, you know, create consensus on what those issues are. There's a lot of differences of opinions, but we need to look at the bigger goal and what are those. And we need to assess priorities. What are the priorities? And have crucial conversations at the state level with the governor and the department heads at the state about what their issues are with the reservation, program by program. And then the liaison needs to come back home to the reservation and talk to both tribes and what are their unique issues and their challenges within their tribes, because they may be different, or they may be the same or overlap. But it's got to start with communication and assessing, and then prioritizing and looking at a budget and what can we do. Maybe we have 5 needs, but maybe we only can fund 3 of them. And so what are those 3 going to be? And so that's the consensus and the communication that I think needs to happen.
Okay. Jim, it's the same question for you. What do you think the role and duties should be of that tribal liaison? And I guess the other part of it is, should the states continue to fund the positions?
When the statute was passed, that was a 50-50 cost share. The tribes would bear half the cost and the state would bear the other half. But that didn't last very long because the tribes are perennially underfunded. So the state took on that burden. But the other thing is the representative for House District 33 and the senator for Senate District 25 are already liaisons. And obviously it's a humongous job. It's not one that can be probably covered by those 2 people. So they need extra help. In other words, the liaison position is important. What we have to do, though, is probably statutorily define the job description of the liaison. But before we do that, there needs to be a lot of work with the tribes in defining what the role of each of these 2 liaisons is, which there's one for each tribe. Because there has been some problems in the past, or have been some problems in the past, with differing ideas of what that job is and what it is supposed to accomplish. And one of the things that the whole purpose of the liaison was to try to be results oriented and outcome based. In other words, what are some achievable goals and how do we best get there? So it's all about communication back and forth, not only from the tribes to the state, but from the state to the tribes in all of these social programs and all the programs, so that the people of the reservation get all the services that they need and deserve.
Okay, and I'm gonna try to squeeze a couple questions in here. So, do you, this one's for you, Jim, to start. Do you support the state's appeal of the EPA ruling on the Wind River Indian Reservation boundary?
Yeah, of course I do. And the only reason is because jurisdictions, a judge actually told me one time, the very first thing you learn in law school is if you don't have jurisdiction, you can't get it. So it's imperative for the tribes to know what their jurisdiction is. It's imperative for the state to know what their jurisdiction is. Those are critical issues. It's not wishy-washy stuff. I mean, it's just, it's critical. Because if they don't know what it is, if we all don't know what it is, how can we know what services we can provide and so forth? Anyway, civics lesson, we have 3 branches of government, and it is always up to the judiciary to settle disputes, constitutional disputes. So it's proper and appropriate for it to be in the courts right now. And as I said earlier, when the ruling comes out, it's going to take a lot of time sitting down with all parties involved and work through it for workable, livable solutions, because we're all one community. You have to just kind of, we all live here. We have to figure out how to get along.
Okay, Andrea, same question for you. Do you support the state's appeal on the EPA ruling of the Wind River Indian Reservation boundary?
No, I don't support it. And it's about communication and sitting down at the table, all being seated and having a crucial conversation, civil discourse, and knowing that you're going to agree to disagree. But what's the bigger picture? What's the goal? We all live here together. Nobody's going anywhere. I respect the sovereignty of the state. I respect the sovereignty of the county, and I definitely respect the sovereignty of the Native American governments that are here. We're all equal. We are all equal. And so it's working together for our future generations. What is it going to take? And we need to lead by example. What is that? And it's working together and having, taking these complex issues and deciding what's best. And we may agree to disagree, but I really am opposed to going right straight to the courts. And the the Northern Arapaho tribe did try to build consensus and come to Riverton and bring another tribe in to talk about how they got past that process before going to litigation. Because again, you're spending, and that's what we don't need. Thank you.
Okay, this one is actually a submission from Facebook, from Lorinda on Facebook. We'll start with you, Andrea. What would you do to support legislation that ends workplace discrimination and firing in Wyoming based on gender identity and sexual orientation?
Well, we did present a bill to protect the rights of gay people in the workplace, and that's my passion, is human resources and treating everybody equal and giving them a meaningful experience, whether that's in life or at work. And what does that mean? And so I support that. And I'm all about equality. And what does that mean? And I respect people's personal freedoms and their personal opportunity and their personal choices. And that's what it is. And they're good people. They're very productive. They provide good assets to any workplace. And I would support that wholeheartedly. And I hope I would work with legislators, especially Representative Connolly, to introduce legislation and try to get that passed to protect their rights in the workplace.
Okay, thank you. Jim, same question for you. Reader submitted question. What would you do to support legislation that ends workplace discrimination and firing in Wyoming based on gender identity and sexual orientation?
It's already against the law. Anyway, I agree. Equality it's more than just a word. So I don't know the answer to that. All I would have to do if I'm elected is look it up, see what the statutes are, see what the Department of Employment rules are, look at the federal statutes and go from there.
Okay. Now we'll move on. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I've still got some time.
Yeah, go ahead.
Do you mind? Back to what the tribes, what the state can do for the tribes. One of the key things, I'm kind of going backwards, is water storage. That's a real high priority for the tribes, to answer the very first question. The other question on the EPA boundary issue, the reason I support going to court, and I support communication too at all levels, but the reason it is a proper and appropriate thing to go to court is because if a federal executive branch agency can enlarge a boundary, that what's to say they couldn't diminish a boundary? It is really not about the boundary as much as it is federal overreach. I think that is in the state's briefs over the EPA boundary dispute. So that's important for all of us because, as I said, if they can enlarge, why can't they diminish? So I hope for the tribe's sake that the reservation is never diminished.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we're going to move on to your closing statement. And I think, Jim, you went first with the intro. So, Andrea, I'll let you go first with the closing statement.
I'm honored to be here again. And, you know, I don't know every issue, but I have the willingness to listen and the passion to fight for what's right. I have experience as my 9 years as the assistant general manager with the Winterberg Hotel and Casino with around 700 employees, you know, learning to listen to both sides of an issue and weighing in on sound decisions. And sometimes those decisions are the hardest ones to make, but if they need to be made, then they're made. And I have, you know, background in that, in my tribal government, as well as at work, in the leadership, you know, that I bring to the table. And so I would appreciate your vote. I encourage everybody to get out and make a change, make a difference for our community. Thank you.
Same, Jim.
Thank you. I appreciate this opportunity as well. What you'll get with me, what's at stake is a balanced budget, equality of opportunity for everybody. And what you'll get with me is that I'll work hard to represent every resident of this district fairly and equally, regardless of party, tribal, or community affiliation. I've proven that I can work with the tribes and the stakeholders to improve the delivery of irrigation water. I've worked with state government to make delivery of services efficient and fiscally responsible. And legislating is a very serious responsibility. And I'm equipped for the job with my legislative experience, my business and natural resource experience and expertise, and I would appreciate your vote. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Thank you. We'll have our candidates for Senate District 25, Senator Kel Case and Sergio Maldonado. Does that look right? If we need to remember your name, we could write it on the back.
What's the call it?
Ooh, we didn't flip yet.
Yes. And winner gets to choose who goes first. What is it? Tails. It's tails.
Doesn't
First or
matter.
second?
I'll go second.
Cool.
All right, thanks, guys. How you doing? Good. Gil, you've chosen to receive.
I guess I'm going to
Kick off.
Yeah.
All right. All right, guys, we're going to start with your opening statements. You get 2 minutes for your opening statements. And we'll start with you, Sergio.
I'd like to say good evening to each and every one of you, and thank you for hosting this forum. My name is Sergio Maldonado. I am from the Wind River Reservation. My mother is Ruth Francis Spoonhunter. My father is Andrew Maldonado, one of the early pioneers who came here in the late 40s. I presently teach at Central Wyoming College. I'm a diversity coordinator and instructor for liberal arts. But more importantly, I'm a concerned citizen, a citizen who is making efforts to look out for the best of everybody. Some of my qualifications: I have an undergrad from Brigham Young University, master's from Arizona State University, and all doctoral work completed in justice studies from ASU. I served as an advisor to President Herbert Walker Bush for 3 years on the National Advisory Council on Indian Education, graduate of Leadership Wyoming 2009. And I'm looking forward to being of service, but more importantly, providing leadership via just notions of humanness, communication, connectedness, acknowledging, has been spoken earlier tonight, the great cultural diversity that we have in Fremont County, the state of Wyoming. It's going to be one heck of a ride, and I'm looking forward to it.
All right. Mr. Case.
Well, hello, everybody, and I'm humbled to be here. I'm humbled to be your incumbent senator from Senate District 25. It's been a great privilege to serve all of you, and it's been, a wonderful experience in my life. And, I'm sitting here in this store. I used to sweep this store out, actually, when I was in high school. I can remember it very well. And I grew up in Lander, and my mom and dad were here. My dad had a drugstore across the street, and I love Wyoming. I love Lander more than anything, and I've always been grateful that you all have let me serve you and trusted me to serve you in the Wyoming legislature, and I'm proud of the accomplishments that we made in that process. I'm proud that I've stuck around long enough down there that I've managed to get to be chairman of a few committees, some that are very important to us here in Fremont County. For example, I'm the Senate chairman of the Select Committee on Tribal Relations. I'm really proud of the accomplishments we've made there. And I also chair the Corporations, Elections, and Political Subdivisions Committee. I serve on the Revenue Committee, which is an important committee for the state. And all these things I've, tried to have a path and a focus about what government should do for people and how it should be limited by the Constitution, and the Constitution should protect people. And I really believe it. I really take it to heart. And I look for we have a magnificent state. It's fabulously wealthy, but it requires good stewardship, both in our natural resources, our financial resources, and for raising our children. And I hope I've been able to help bring that stewardship. I've tried very hard to listen to all points of view. I'm not a single party person. I'm very proud, actually, to have the most diverse district in the state of Wyoming. And I'm proud to serve all of you.
Thanks, Senator. Sergio, first question for you. Dealing with education, right up your alley, it sounds like. Should the legislature be involved in approving or disapproving of Common Core educational standards, or should that be left to the Department of Ed and local school boards?
Having been in a classroom since 1978, high school teacher, I certainly believe that education for all citizens is a must. It's a given. But I also believe that somewhere along the line in America, in Wyoming, on the reservation, that the notion of family involvement has dissipated a bit. So we must have family involvement. With respect to Common Core, there's no problem in having a template that all students, citizens of Wyoming should be capable of addressing. Critical thinking, for instance, reading the 3 R's. My father being a carpenter, always made sure when I was growing up, Hijo, 9 times 9, 81. Somewhere in America, whether it's with NCLB or whatever, the politicalization of education has superseded some common sense at a local level, at a state level, and at a national level. I believe that our local school districts should have, conditionally speaking, the lion's share of control on what our young children should learn, specifically geographical areas. Students in Wyoming, a population of a little over 500,000, is radically different from students in, let's say, Phoenix, Arizona, with a population of 4 million. Granted, there are some givens that they should have in place, but local control is a must. At a state level, the state should have a whole lot of control on that with respect to overseeing, not so much micromanaging, but making sure that the local school boards are doing what's best for the children.
Okay, great, thank you. Senator, same question for you. Should the legislature be involved in the approving or disapproving of Common Core? And, or should that be left to Department of Ed and local school boards?
It's very interesting. The Wyoming Constitution actually is very specific and says that neither the legislature nor the state superintendent should specify the textbooks used in local classrooms. Of course, that was written 100 years ago, but that's sort of the curriculum speak of.
That's when we use textbooks.
That's when we use textbooks, right? Good point. but it's the curriculum speak of its day,
right.
And I think that really speaks to the fact that Cheyenne, is supposed to support education through resources, but I don't think that Cheyenne is really supposed to tell us what to do. And I certainly concur with Sergio's discussion about the importance of local school boards, local family involvement. I think as so many things have shifted to Cheyenne, we've tended to look to Cheyenne to take care of things, and we've sort of lost a bit of interest at the local level, which has hurt our children. The whole issue of, in the last legislative session, there was a little mischief done in the budget when the new generation science standards were restricted in the budget document, which was just took a amendment approved by more than half of the legislature. I think this was totally inappropriate. It was an issue that was of great importance, and it should have had a debate through full committees, and it should have had the input of local school boards and people around Wyoming. The legislature didn't do that, and that shortcut the process, and that really hurt us. So, the legislature needs to back off, I think, in terms of trying to micromanage schools across Wyoming. We have an obligation to provide resources, but the most leadership needs to come from local districts.
Okay, thank you. This next question is for you, Senator. Do you favor one-time infrastructure funding or putting surplus funds in reserve accounts?
It's always good when you have a backlog of needs to take care of them when you can. And we have used one-time funds to good effect in some dire circumstances. But that doesn't mean, I think we have to think a little bit about what our permanent funds are for, what our mineral severance tax is designed to do. And it's really to provide a sustainable flow of revenue to the state when our mineral industry is not performing as well as it does now. And so we have to remember, and we have to have a balance. Yes, you can have way too much money and you can save too much, but a lot of that is by constitution, and it is designed to provide for the ongoing needs of the state in the future, to provide a better legacy for future generations. So we have to think, the most important thing, as I think, is for government to be sustainable on its own right, in that current taxes match current expenditures. And then at the same time, of course, according to our Constitution, we put away a little extra to compensate future generations for the fact that they're not going to have the mineral income. So it's a balance between present and future, but most importantly, current receipts match current expenditures. And where we get in trouble is when we put in programs that have a large requirement for future expenditures to support those programs, and we don't have the financial wherewithal to uphold them. So, and one thing about our permanent funds now, they are now the second largest source of current operating revenue, because the interest off those funds funds current state revenue. Without those money in the money in the bank, we would not have our second largest source of income in Wyoming. And so I'm pretty proud that we do have that. That does make us more sustainable and helps us to look to the long term.
Okay. Sergio, it's the same question for you. Do you favor one-time infrastructure funding or putting surplus funds in reserve accounts?
I don't have a problem with putting funding the first time into any kind of economic activity. The concern is this, much like in in statistics, the unknown variable. And the unknown variable for Wyoming is will oil and gas reserves remain the same Will they spike where then we can have surplus funding put back in? Or will they plateau or drop? That is something that no prognosticator can determine. This is an international effect on local economies. I do like the idea, and Mr. Case addresses, when the funds are available, and if you can put some aside, then that's just common good sense. I do not espouse an idea of borrowing. This is what's got America into trouble. America is the largest debtor nation in the world. China owns America to one degree or another. I just think that we have to be very careful. I think the word earlier was to be as fiscally conservative as possible, recognizing the variables that we do see, the known variables, acknowledging the unknown variable, again, not to wax statistical, but this is how it has to be played out. And all for the benefit of how will it affect not only the community of Wyoming today, but how will it affect the community of Wyoming tomorrow?
All right. Sergio, this next question is for you, and it comes from Twitter.
Twitter. I don't know Twitter.
This is from Bruce Palmer on Twitter.
Bruce Palmer on Twitter.
What are your thoughts on Medicaid expansion?
You know, I'm always concerned that here we are, the richest nation in the world, in spite of our debtor status, that every citizen in this country, especially Wyoming, should be afforded a level of health care. It's a given. It's a human condition. But I'm stunned that in Wyoming we have 18,000 people who have no health care at all. 4 years ago, I had the opportunity, had a total knee replacement with insurance from Central Wyoming College. I look at the number of people in Fremont County on the reservation who do not have health care. How blessed I am, how blessed we all are that we have that. I support completely the expansion of Medicare for all citizens of Wyoming. It's being human. And when I hear others who oppose it, who want to wax political about Obamacare or whatever, they fail to remember that good health should be afforded to everybody.
Okay. Senator Case, the same question for you. Just your thoughts on Medicaid expansion.
You know, my thoughts have evolved. A few years ago, I served on a panel with Tom Strook about providing for Wyoming's uninsured, and we were facing kind of the same numbers then that we've faced now, and it's been a very difficult thing. For many years, I was sort of persuaded that folks that didn't have insurance still got health care because they were able to go to hospital emergency rooms and they got care. And that made sense to me. And to tell you the truth, I was wrong on that. Because I have kind of learned in my own health challenges that you don't get treated very well if you don't have insurance out there in the world. It's pretty darn hard to get health care. And it's pretty, you know, you can walk into an emergency room with a broken arm and they will, of course they'll see you, and I'm grateful that they will. But if you have cancer and you have to see an oncologist, if you don't have insurance or money right there, you're not going to see him. So I have been giving this a ton of thinking, and you know, I would say that, you know, we're talking about people that would be 200% of the poverty level. That would be the proposal in Wyoming. We're not talking about it being ubiquitous care, but my mind is opening up to it, and I guess circumstances convince. I'm still an old dog. I can learn new tricks, but I think I've really found out what it feels like to not have the healthcare options that you need. And so.
Okay, with that, we're going to move on to your closing statements. And Senator, you'll actually go first in this one.
Well, it's been a pleasure to be here tonight. I thank County10 and all the sponsors and the folks in the audience. I think that's fabulous that you came out. And I want to thank Sergio. I've really, it's been a pleasure to run against and with and together with Sergio. He's been a gentleman, and we've become better friends over this, I think. And you know, I'm still learning. I don't always get everything perfect, I tell you that. But I really work hard to try to represent Fremont County and to do the very best possible job. I'm always available. I have a landline telephone that's listed in the book. I handle calls and complaints from people every day, and it is a great pleasure to do so, and I'm very humbled that they trust me enough to do that. I sort of have the right credentials for this job. I've learned a lot. I've spent the time, and I have a PhD in economics, and it's been helpful in moving forward. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Sergio?
Thank you, County 10 and all the sponsors. I have learned a lot within the last several months in vying for this position, Senate District 25. It's humbling, especially when you look about the community and the needs of the community, whether we're talking about Lander, the Wind River Reservation, Crowheart. I made mention earlier that we have an extremely diverse community. I represent diversity. I have learned to work with people. I've been in a classroom for 30 plus years. I grew up in Tucson, came back here. I know that Lander in this community, District 25, is ready for change, is ready for communication, is ready for diversity. And I know in my heart that I represent all of what Wyoming is moving towards, and that is change, acknowledgement, and more importantly, people.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you. Now we'll have all our uncontested candidates. If you guys all just want to join me up here, we'll kind of ask your questions at the same time. Paula, and I guess we have two House District. Lloyd, is Lloyd still here? Do you want to address and Rita Campbell as well? If you guys would come on up, and if you want to address the audience, have a seat. Well, I guess you can come. With the Wind River Visitors Council. She's going to address the lodging tax, which is on the ballot. So Paula, I'll let you have 1 minute to give a statement.
Very good. I am your 60-second infomercial. And so this won't take long, but I just have 6 facts about the lodging tax that I want to tell you. So the first fact is the lodging tax is paid by travelers who stay in Fremont County overnight. Number 2, the tourists have spent $138 million in Fremont County last year for motels, restaurants, shopping, entertainment. That gets distributed and trickled down all throughout the county. It's very big business. Number 3, that spending by the tourists supported over 1,500 jobs directly related to tourism. Number 4, tourists, when they spent the $138 million, they also paid over $5 million in local and state taxes, like gas tax, sales tax when they went shopping. Those taxes helped pay for Fremont County schools, roads, and other necessary government services. So we benefit from the sales tax that they do pay. Number 5, the lodging tax is a local by the county citizens every 4 years since 1990. And Fremont County citizens determine how that lodging tax income is spent. Number 6, the last one, the lodging tax last year, it brought in over $600,000 in revenue to the county. That is the money that the Wind River Visitors Council oversees. And 25% of that goes right back to the communities in Fremont County to help them support their own local events, so they can create more things for tourists to do and keep them here. So I will end not with a fact, but with an opinion that the lodging tax is a win-win for Fremont County residents. And I do have fact sheets that I can provide you in writing if you would like them.
Okay.
Thanks.
If we can have, I think we'll just, let's just have you both up. That's okay. 2 minutes. Yeah, that's fine.
Where would you like to sit?
If you guys just want to sit next to each other at least. This one. This is a friendly meeting. This one here. So these are uncontested candidates for House District 34, Rita Campbell's district, and House District 54 for Lloyd Larson. And Rita, we'll start with you, and we'll give you 2 minutes, just kind of address our audience out there.
Well, thank you very much. This has been a great evening. It's great to be here with all the other candidates that are having to challenge each other yet. I have served the 2 terms and looking forward to a 3rd term, and I appreciate all the support I've received, and I feel humble and very blessed to have been able to serve as the representative in House District 34, which happens to be the 2nd largest House district in the state. And of course, my district starts out here to the east, Twin Creeks, goes to the county lines, and then it travels up to around Riverton and on to Dubois. And I live right in the center of that. I live between Riverton and Shoshone. The Wind River is the boundary line that divides House District from House District 28, which is combined with the Bighorn Basin. But I have been involved with working as a leader in a lot of different ways. I was on the school board in Shoshone for 12 years, 3 terms, and I enjoyed all of that. I was the county elected person for the Farm Service Agency because I happened to be involved in agriculture, and served the term limits there. And I've worked with the Fremont County Natural Resource Planning. I was a charter member of that and served as a secretary on that. And I enjoy working, and I particularly want to see education, agriculture, economic development, and tourism to flourish. Thank you.
Excellent. Well, we appreciate you taking the time. We know you didn't have to. You're running uncontested, but thank you for doing that. I'm sure the people watching at home will appreciate it as well. Lloyd, it seems like we were just doing this a couple years ago, but
we were.
I'm sure you've accomplished a lot in 2 years. Feel free to address the audience, and you'll have 2 minutes as well.
Jason, thank you. I'd like to thank County 10. This is a fun opportunity for us to be able to meet before our constituents and the citizens of Fremont County. My name is Lloyd Larson. I'm running for re-election to the House of Representatives, serving in House District 54, which is mostly around the greater Lander area. As I look forward, I think Wyoming is going to continue to have some difficult challenges that are unique to the state that's going to require the legislature to stand for our historical standards. And likewise, I think we're going to have some challenges that are going to require the legislature to think outside the box and come up with innovative ways to deal with the challenges that we face. I currently serve on the Labor and Economic Development Committee, the Labor and Health Committee, and I serve with Senator Case on the Select Committee on Tribal Relations. And there's a lot of satisfaction that comes out from serving in those committees.
But I would just share with you that the biggest satisfaction that I've had over the first term serving in the legislature is when you get a call from one of your constituents or from somebody here in Fremont County that has a problem dealing with a state agency or is having another problem, and to be able to work with them and resolve that problem, or to have somebody call up and say, I've got an idea that might work if you with this statute, and to work through that and actually see that come to fruition and see the benefit that comes from here locally. I also enjoy the phone calls I get when you answer the phone. They say, Larson, what in the heck were you thinking when you know, are you crazy? What's going on? And to have the opportunity to share with them the reasoning behind the votes that you made or the things that you've done. I would just share with those who are watching and those who are listening here tonight that in Fremont County, and I believe in Wyoming, your vote really does count, and your opinions and your thoughts also count and are listened to. Thanks for the opportunity.
I appreciate it. Thank you guys for taking the opportunity. And I guess that's all.
We're done.
That's it. That's all you got. Absolutely. Appreciate you coming.
Glad I did.
All right. So we'll also have Mark Stratmo.
Rita.
Just Mark. An update on the score. Anybody wants to know? 35-0, third quarter. Riverton over Lander. All right.
Yes.
Hello, Mark.
Hi there.
Thank you. Thanks for coming.
I'm the only one up here this time.
Yeah, you are. You're uncontested. So if you want to go ahead, you'll have 2 minutes to just kind of address your
Okay.
constituents.
Nobody wants to sit up with the coroner. I'd just like to say that since my race was decided in the primary, that I'd like to thank everybody for the support that they gave me, and just renew my pledge that I will do my best and give everything I have to deserve the support and the faith that the people of Fremont County have put in me for serving as coroner in this county. And just as a comment, I'd like to say that out of all the candidates that we've had tonight, that there's still some very important and critical races going on. A lot of these candidates I know personally, a lot of these candidates I've worked with, and there is a fine choice and selection of people for the people of Fremont County to choose from. So I encourage everybody to get out there and vote. If you're here or if you're listening online, you're probably going to vote already. So get out there and try and stir up some of your other friends and stuff, because this is your government. And if you don't get out and vote, then you don't have a choice. So
all right.
That's all I got to say.
Thank you. That's Mark Stratmon, our Fremont County coroner. All right, I'd like to thank everybody watching at home on the live stream. You can always log on to county10.com to watch this. It'll be recorded. It'll be up on the site and available later on. And, you know, if you see a County 10 reporter or one of our sponsors, like our presenting sponsor, SageWest Health Care, Pit Stop Stores, and the Lander Valley Medical Clinic, be sure and thank them for helping us put on this presentation. Thank you all.